November 6, 2022. You're a crypto investor with $10 million sitting in FTX. Your life savings, retirement fund, everything. You open Twitter and see a tweet from the CEO of Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange. He's dumping all his FTT tokens, the coin that props up your exchange. Within minutes, other investors start pulling money out. Within hours, FTX customers have initiated $4 billion in withdrawals. By November 11th, 5 days later, FTX files for bankruptcy. Your $10 million is gone. The third largest crypto exchange in the world is dead. And Sam Bankman-Fried, the 30-year-old billionaire who promised to give away his entire fortune to save humanity, is under arrest. 10 days. That's how long it took for a $32 billion company to collapse. But the real story isn't the collapse. It's how a messy-haired kid from Stanford convinced the world he was the good guy while stealing $8 billion from his customers, and why the people who were supposed to catch him never bothered to look. 2012. Sam Bankman-Fried is a junior at MIT studying physics. He's smart, but not particularly interested in making money. Then he meets a philosopher named William MacAskill. MacAskill gives a talk about effective altruism, a movement that uses data to figure out how to do the most good. The pitch: if you want to help people, become a doctor and save maybe 500 lives a year, or become a banker, make millions, donate it, and fund 10 doctors, saving 5,000 lives. It's called earning to give. Get rich first, give it away later. Bankman-Fried is sold. He graduates in 2014 and joins Jane Street Capital, a Wall Street trading firm. He donates about half his salary to animal welfare charities. In 2017, he quits to start Alameda Research, a crypto trading firm. He recruits friends from the effective altruism community, promising they'll get rich and save the world. Alameda made millions exploiting price differences between American and Asian crypto markets, buying Bitcoin cheap in the US, selling it expensive in Japan. By 2019, Bankman-Fried had made enough to start FTX. He presented himself as the anti-crypto bro. While others wore Lamborghinis and flexed on Instagram, Bankman-Fried drove a Toyota Corolla, slept on a beanbag, lived with 10 roommates in a Bahamas penthouse. He was vegan. He signed the Giving Pledge, promising to donate 99% of his wealth. The media loved him. Bloomberg called him the world's most generous billionaire. By 2021, his net worth hit $26 billion. But while he was telling the world he'd donate everything, he was funneling billions of customer dollars into his hedge fund to gamble on crypto startups, buy real estate, and fund political campaigns. To understand how he got away with it, you need to know about the woman who helped him do it. Caroline Ellison met Sam Bankman-Fried at Jane Street Capital in 2017. She was a trader. He was her coworker. They bonded over effective altruism and math. When Bankman-Fried left to start Alameda Research, he recruited her to join him. By 2021, he promoted her to CEO of Alameda. On paper, she was in charge of a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. In reality, Bankman-Fried still called all the shots. They dated on and off. It was messy. She wrote in her diary that their breakup made working at Alameda painful, that everything felt too associated with him. But despite the drama, Ellison did what Bankman-Fried told her to do. And what he told her to do was commit fraud. Here's how it worked. FTX was supposed to be a normal crypto exchange where customers could buy and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other coins. Customers deposited money. FTX held it. And when customers wanted their money back, FTX gave it to them. Simple. Except FTX had a secret backdoor in its code that allowed Alameda Research to borrow unlimited amounts of customer money without anyone noticing. No collateral, no limits, no oversight. Bankman-Fried set up the system. Gary Wang, FTX's co-founder and chief technology officer, wrote the code, and Caroline Ellison used it. By 2021, Alameda had borrowed $10 billion from FTX, not Alameda's money, customer money, and they were using it to make risky bets on crypto startups and venture capital investments. The problem? Most of Alameda's assets weren't real. They were FTT tokens, the coin FTX created out of thin air. FTX gave discounts to traders who owned FTT, so it had some demand, but it wasn't liquid. You couldn't easily convert billions of dollars worth of FTT into cash. It was like claiming your net worth was $1 trillion because you printed $1 trillion Monopoly dollars and decided they were each worth $1. In the spring of 2022, crypto markets crashed. Lenders who had given Alameda loans started asking for their money back. Alameda didn't have it. Their assets were locked up in illiquid FTT tokens and failing startups. So Ellison went to Bankman-Fried with a spreadsheet. She'd modeled 7 different options for how Alameda could cover its debts. Some options were honest: sell assets, cut losses, admit they couldn't pay. Other options involved using more FTX customer funds. Bankman-Fried told her to send the version that made Alameda's balance sheet look as healthy as possible, the one that inflated the value of FTT and downplayed how much they actually owed. She did. Lenders got fake balance sheets. They believed Alameda was solvent. They kept lending. Ellison later testified in court that she knew it was fraud. She said Bankman-Fried directed her to do it. She said he told her there was a 5% chance he'd become president someday and that he needed money for political influence. In 2020, Bankman-Fried donated $5.2 million to Joe Biden's campaign, making him one of the president's top donors. In the 2022 midterms, he donated another $40 million to Democratic candidates. He also gave to Republicans, quietly, through dark money groups. He wasn't trying to save the world. He was trying to buy it. But eventually, the math stopped working. Alameda's debts kept growing. FTX's customer deposits were being drained. And then, someone leaked Alameda's real balance sheet to the press. November 2nd, 2022. CoinDesk, a crypto news site, publishes an article based on a leaked Alameda Research balance sheet. The article reveals that Alameda's largest asset is FTT, the token created by FTX. Alameda holds $3.66 billion worth of it. Another $2.16 billion is in unlocked FTT. Altogether, over $5 billion of Alameda's assets are tied to a coin that only has value because FTX says it does. The implication is obvious. If FTT loses value, Alameda is insolvent. And if Alameda is insolvent, FTX might be too. Crypto Twitter goes wild. People start asking questions. How intertwined are FTX and Alameda? Is customer money safe? Why does a hedge fund own so much of an exchange's token? For 4 days, nothing happens. FTX's CEO tries to reassure customers. Caroline Ellison tweets that Alameda will buy any FTT people want to sell at $22 per token, trying to prop up the price. Then, on November 6th, Changpeng Zhao, known as CZ, the CEO of Binance, tweets that he's selling all of Binance's FTT holdings. Binance owns $580 million worth of FTT. When the biggest exchange in the world dumps your token, it's not a vote of confidence. The price of FTT collapses. Within 24 hours, FTX customers have pulled $1 billion from the exchange. The next day, they pull another $4 billion. FTX doesn't have the money because it was never there. Alameda had already spent it. On November 8th, Binance announces it will buy FTX to save it from collapse. The crypto world breathes a sigh of relief. Crisis averted. Then, Binance looks at FTX's books. They walk away in less than 24 hours. The Wall Street Journal later reports that FTX's balance sheet showed $9 billion in liabilities against $900 million in liquid assets. There was an $8 billion hole. Customer money gone. On November 10th, regulators in the Bahamas freeze FTX's assets. On November 11th, FTX files for bankruptcy. Bankman-Fried resigns as CEO. His $26 billion net worth is wiped out. But the story doesn't end with the bankruptcy, because as soon as FTX collapsed, people started asking, who saw this coming? And more importantly, who should have stopped it? 2021. FTX is growing fast. Bankman-Fried is pouring money into marketing. He doesn't just want crypto traders using FTX, he wants everyone. So he hires celebrities, lots of them. Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen become brand ambassadors. Brady gets $55 million in FTX stock over 3 years. Gisele gets $18 million. They appear in commercials asking people, you in? Steph Curry gets $35 million for 3 years. He stars in ads saying, I'm not an expert and I don't need to be. With FTX, I have everything I need to buy, sell, and trade crypto safely. Larry David gets $10 million to appear in a Super Bowl commercial where he plays a skeptic who rejects every major invention in history. The wheel, the light bulb, bulb, democracy, and then rejects FTX. The punchline: don't be like Larry, don't miss out. The ad aired during Super Bowl 56. Over 100 million people saw it. FTX also sponsors the Miami Heat's arena, renaming it FTX Arena for $135 million. They sponsor the Mercedes Formula One team. They plaster the FTX logo across sports stadiums and esports tournaments. None of the celebrities disclose how much they're being paid. Most of them take equity in FTX instead of cash, which means they don't have to report it as income. When FTX collapses, investors who lost money file a class action lawsuit against the celebrities, claiming they promoted an unregistered security without disclosing their financial incentives. Tom Brady and Giselle lose their entire FTX stakes, worth millions. So do Curry, Larry David, and the others. In 2024, most of the claims against the celebrities are dismissed. The judge rules that they didn't have knowledge of FTX's fraud. They were uninformed, negligent, or even reckless, but not criminal. Shaquille O'Neal settles. Kevin O'Leary testifies before Congress that he was paid $18 million to promote FTX, $15 million in equity, $3 million in cash to cover taxes. He says the equity is now worthless. The celebrities walk away bruised, but not ruined. But there's a darker question underneath all of this. Why did FTX need celebrity endorsements in the first place? The answer? Because Sam Bankman-Fried knew his company was a house of cards, and he needed as many people depositing money as possible to keep it from collapsing. The celebrities gave him credibility. They made FTX look safe, and millions of people trusted them. But while the celebrities were promoting FTX to the masses, Bankman-Fried was quietly preparing for the collapse. And when it came, he did something that shocked even his closest allies. The trial begins in October 2023. Over 3 days, Caroline Ellison takes the stand. She's calm, clear, and devastating. She testifies that Bankman-Fried directed her to commit fraud. She says he set up the back door that allowed Alameda to borrow customer funds from FTX. She says he told her to send fake balance sheets to lenders. She says he used customer money to fund political donations, buy luxury real estate in the Bahamas, and invest in speculative startups. She admits she committed crimes. She pleaded guilty to 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy. But she makes it clear: Sam Bankman-Fried was in charge. Gary Wang, FTX's co-founder, testifies next. He says the same thing. Bankman-Fried told him to write code that gave Alameda special privileges. Bankman-Fried told him to hide it. Bankman-Fried lied to investors, lied to customers, and lied to regulators. Nishad Singh, FTX's head of engineering, testifies too. Same story. Everything came from Sam. Bankman-Fried's defense tries to argue he was just a bad manager, that he relied on Ellison and she failed him. But the evidence is overwhelming. Prosecutors present spreadsheets, signal messages, internal memos, and testimony from 3 people who worked with him every day. On November 3, 2023, 1 year and 8 days after FTX collapsed, the jury convicts Sam Bankman-Fried on all 7 counts: wire fraud, securities fraud, commodities fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. In March 2024, he's sentenced to 25 years in federal prison. Caroline Ellison gets 2 years. Gary Wang gets time served. Nishad Singh gets time served. They cooperated. Bankman-Fried didn't. FTX's new CEO, John J. Ray III, the same guy who cleaned up Enron, calls FTX's collapse the most brazen fraud he's seen in his career. He says the company had no accounting records, no internal controls, and executives used customer funds to buy personal real estate. In a surprise twist, FTX's bankruptcy estate manages to recover enough assets to pay back 98% of creditors in full. but only because crypto prices surged after the collapse. If Bitcoin had stayed low, customers would have lost everything. But even with most people getting their money back, the damage is done. Trust in crypto is shattered. Regulators are circling, and Sam Bankman-Fried, the kid who wanted to save the world, is spending the next 2 decades in prison. Here's the part that should bother you. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't just get away with fraud because he was smart. He got away with it because the system let him. FTX was based in the Bahamas specifically to avoid US regulation. Bankman-Fried lobbied Congress for lighter crypto oversight, donating millions to politicians who supported his positions. He positioned himself as the responsible adult in the room, the guy who wanted sensible rules, all while running a Ponzi scheme. The SEC never audited FTX. They didn't have jurisdiction. The CFTC didn't catch it either. Investors like Sequoia Capital, Temasek, and the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan poured $210 million into FTX without doing proper due diligence. Sequoia wrote a glowing profile of Bankman-Fried, describing him as a genius and publishing it on their website. After the collapse, they quietly deleted it and wrote down their entire investment to zero. Bankman-Fried once told a reporter there was a 5% chance he'd flip a coin, and if it came up tails, the world would be destroyed. But if it came up heads, the world would be twice as good. He'd take that bet. That's not altruism. That's moral gambling. And it nearly worked. FTX collapsed because Sam Bankman-Fried built it to collapse. He used customer money to fund Alameda research, bought political influence, paid celebrities to promote the exchange, and when the math stopped working, he tried to cover it up. But the collapse also revealed how easy it is to run a multi-billion-dollar fraud if you have the right branding. Bankman-Fried wasn't caught by regulators or investors or auditors. He was caught because someone leaked a balance sheet to a journalist, and a rival CEO decided to pull the rug. 10 days. That's all it took for the 3rd largest crypto exchange in the world to go from business as usual to bankruptcy. And in those 10 days, $8 billion in customer funds vanished. A 30-year-old billionaire went to prison, and an entire industry lost what little credibility it had left. Sam Bankman-Fried is gone, but the system that let him steal $8 billion is still here.